J-Dub is back at it here to give everyone their Walking Dead Season 8 episode reaction video. But before I get into that, it's extremely important if you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching The Walking Dead, that you take the initiative and pay attention to this episode's title, which of course I'll put in the description if that's the case. And if you find out that you're not caught up, I suggest, and so does everybody else, that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. This is going to be The Walking Dead Season 8 episode number 8. The title of this episode is called How It's Gotta Be. This is the Season 8 mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, and I've seen this a bunch of times, just reacting to it to have it on my channel, and reacting to it due to the fact that they announced that Season 11 of The Walking Dead is going to be the final season of the main Walking Dead show, which meant to me that I have to have every Walking Dead episode on my YouTube channel, and not just the new ones, because I'm obviously doing the new ones and going back and doing the old ones in case anybody didn't know. So, in the wake of Daryl and Tara's attack on the sanctuary that unintentionally allowed the Saviors to escape, which I don't necessarily think that's 100% accurate, but it is what it is. Savior lookout posts open fire on Rick, Jadis, and the Scavengers. Yes, Rick came there with the Scavengers. And of course, Rick is abandoned. The Scavengers took off because that's what they do. I don't know why he makes any deals with them. And then suddenly Rick is actually rescued by Carol and Jerry. The three decide to split up to warn the allied communities, with the sanctuary now back under full control. Negan and the Saviors launch a counterattack against the Milita. Inside the sanctuary, Eugene helps a very ill Father Gabriel and Dr. Carson escape to Hilltop, or gives them the means to escape to Hilltop. And then the unfortunate thing is Eugene doesn't think Gabriel's going to make it. And then at Alexandria, Carl is sitting in a room writing a letter to his father. So something's going on with Carl, and he's writing a letter to his father, or his dad. That's what he puts on the letter. And then also Aaron and Enid decide to try to make up with the Oceanside community, whose guns they took to fight the Saviors, if you don't remember. And they bring them a truck full of alcohol from a nearby brewery, and then waiting outside the community at night, Aaron is attacked by somebody, but Enid shoots his attacker, which turns out to be Natanya, the leader of the Oceanside, and Natanya dies. So then the two are surrounded by other Oceanside members. Cindy mourns the death of her grandmother, Natanya, and then also Maggie, Jesus, and a large convoy of Hilltop residents head presumably towards the sanctuary to meet up with the Alexandrians in hopes that the Saviors will surrender. However, a group of Saviors overtake the convoy. There's a surprise, revealing that they have captured Jerry en route to the Hilltop, and they actually smashed into Jerry's vehicle, and then they cut to commercial, if anybody remembers that. And Simon appears and approaches Maggie's car. Simon then orders Maggie to give up her convoy's firearms to the Saviors, or else Jerry and everyone else will be shot. Maggie agrees, but before the convoy can head back to the Hilltop, Simon decides to shoot Neil, who's sitting behind Maggie, a guy that I believe is only in this episode. He had a couple lines in the episode, and then they killed him off, and apparently they wanted us to think that that was an important character. Well, Diane was also in the back seat behind Jesus, who was driving. They could have killed her off. She's been in a few more episodes and has a little bit more dialogue than this Neil character. Poor choice, in my opinion. But it is what it is, so that pisses Maggie off, and Maggie gets back to the Hilltop. She decides to execute one of the Savior prisoners, which would have been Dean, if we remember him. He was the one that was in episode 3 or 4 that surrendered to, I know for sure, Jesus, and I think Tara, if I recall. And then he tried to shoot. Then he turned his back on Jesus and threatened to kill him, but ultimately they overtook him. So Dean has been executed by Maggie. Crazy Maggie. And then at the Kingdom, Gavin and a force of well over a dozen Saviors have gathered up the citizens for an announcement. And then Gavin proclaims that the Kingdom and whatever they produce are now property of the Saviors, and all well-enabled bodies are going to be taken to the sanctuary to see its repair and refurbished, and announces that his men will take the Kingdom as their home due to the deconstruction of their former residence. And then Ezekiel, he actually snuck away when he heard them show up, creates a distraction that allows the residents to escape into the nearby woods. Carol encounters the residents and finds Ezekiel, who locks himself in the kingdom to face the saviors alone. And then Morgan observes this from a distance. So Morgan's got a plan, I think. And then, of course, back at Alexandria, Carl prepares to deliver more food to the Siddiq, but is unexpectedly interrupted by Negan, who's banging his bat on the Alexandrian gate. And he orders the community to surrender over a loudspeaker outside the walls and then prepare to torch Alexandria to the ground. Negan is interrupted by Carl, who appears over Alexandria's walls, and Carl tries to talk some sense into Negan, offering and willing to give up his own life. Kill me, kill me. I must admit, Chandler Riggs, he was a little quiet when he was saying this line. He should have been a lot louder. It's like he was whispering it almost, in my opinion, but it is what it is. And then, however, this is actually a distraction to allow all of the Alexandria members to escape in the sewers. Acting as a decoy, you have Daryl, Michonne, Terrell, and Rosita drive and smash trucks into the walls at the back of the safe zone, or Alexandria, and through a roadblock of savior vehicles purposely arranged ineffectively by Dwight, and a chase ensues. And then, infuriated by Carl's ruse, Negan orders his men to launch grenade launchers into Alexandria. Several buildings and houses are razed. Negan's troops smash their way through the front gate and pour into the community, while Carl provides cover through the smoke bombs before he escapes into the sewers. And then the pursuing savior group is led into an ambush set up by Daryl's convoy. Dwight begins to kill several saviors. However, Laura, one of the more high-ranking saviors that kind of was with Eugene at times, catches Dwight in the act of the betrayal and shoots him in the arm and then escapes. And then in the aftermath of the firefight, Dwight joins Daryl and company, who will then descend into the sewers as Alexandria burns. Michonne remains above ground, and amidst the bombardment, Rick, it's Rick! He finally arrives and sees his town in flames. He rushes to his house to look for Michonne, Carl, and Judith, only to find Negan awaiting his arrival. They brawl. Rick gets severely injured. And there's a port where Negan gets smashed hard. I can't remember exactly what it was. But he drops Lucille, and then Rick picks her up, or picks the bat up. It's not a her. And Negan, don't you touch her! He gets really upset because Rick touched his baseball bat with barbed wire. So it was pretty funny. But Rick manages to escape and meets with Michonne. The couple descend into the sewers, joining the surviving Alexandrians. They eventually find Carl, who introduces them to Siddiq, which Rick already kind of met Siddiq, and he's saying something like, I brought him here, and that's how it happened. And then Carl lifts his shirt up to reveal a bite mark. So Carl was looking sweaty and tired for a reason. Carl is dying. I knew this was happening. It was spoiled. But I would have never guessed in my wildest imagination that Carl would be killed off in Season 8 of The Walking Dead. He isn't dead yet, but, I mean, it's coming. Spoiler alert. I think you should already know that by now. But they, of course, have to take in the horror of what must come next with Carl. So that's the end of the episode, of course. It's the cliffhanger episode. I enjoyed most of it. I think it was a little weak at times, but I wish there would have been more dialogue between Carl and Negan at the gate of Alexandria than there was. And I think Chandler Riggs did a good job in this episode, but that particular part, he didn't act very well, in my opinion. But also there's a part where Carl kind of snaps at Michonne saying, this is my show. I'm running things now. This is going to be my plan. I thought that was a good take charge moment by Carl. But I liked what I saw, but I thought they could have done a lot more. They could have had an extended episode and had everything happen, including his ultimate death in the episode. So I'm going to give it an 8.3 out of 10. Some people would give it a lower score. I don't see very high 8s for this episode. People just don't like it. Maybe they're mad that they're killing Carl off, which I agree. The character of the episode, well, it's going to be Carl, because Carl did the most in this episode. I mean, I could think about giving it to Dwight maybe, but Carl certainly did a lot in this episode, and Maggie did too, but I'll give it to Carl. So you've heard what I have to say. Now it is your turn. So if you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you like this episode, how it's got to be from season 8, go ahead and smash that like button. And even if you don't like the episode but you like The Walking Dead, do me a favor and smash that like button just to show your support for this awesome television show. If you know anybody that would be interested in this video, share the video with them. Don't forget to leave me a comment. You can comment whatever you want. Let's get the Walking Dead discussion going. And last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.